The classic convertible market at the moment, price-wise, is all over the place. You can pick an MGF up for a couple £100, and then you've got TVR Chimeras going up to 25 grand.
Yeah, now this is why we think now is the perfect time to go out and buy yourself a BMW Z3.
We think the BMW Z3 ticks all the boxes for a sporty convertible. 2 seats, rear-wheel drive, BMW quality, and it's new enough to have age such as traction control and ABS, but old enough to still feel like a raw drive without computers monitoring every move. There's also a wide variety of engine choices to choose from the punchy 1.9 4-cylinder all the way up to the 320 brake horsepower 3.2 6-cylinder engine in the Z3M, meaning there's a Z3 for every driving style and budget.
With the entry-level 1.9s coming in at around the 2 grand mark and the Z3M Roadsters coming in at around 15 grand, what we've got here is the 2.8, which is the happy medium. You still get BMW's amazing M52 straight 6 engine without paying the silly money. And we're not even going to talk about the coupes or the clown shoes as they're known, because we had a look and there's one for 45 grand. So yeah, we're going to stick to the 2.8 at the moment because value for money, I think this is where you want to be. You still get BMW's quality is great. The styling is very, very typical of the early 2000s BMW, and where I think, and I know a lot of people will agree, where BMW were at their absolute peak for design and performance. Kidney grills on the front were still a very, very tolerable size and look very classy. Even the headlights look very, very what you'd expect from a BMW. The muscular stance is where I want to go. Now, I own an MX5, and they are quite narrow-bodied, whereas the benefit with the Z3s, you've got the option of a narrow body and the wider body, more prominent on the rear, which we'll get to in a minute. Coming around to the side, the vents here, again, I have said, I'm not sure, do you know if they're functional or not?
They're not.
No?
No.
Either way, that's kind of cool, because I like the fact that they've gone styling for styling's sake. Wide at the front, coming around to the side. The skirts that fold in there, just beautifully styled. They really, really had a bit of fun with this and really took their time with the styling. And quirky little fact, we found out that the sills that are known to rot on these, as the same with any 90s car, they're actually bolt-on. Every other car is weld-on, so that is, for me, that would be a huge selling feature. Coming around to the back, we have mentioned previously, this car is a mishmash. Basically, you've got E36 front end, which is the 3 Series, and you've got E30 at the rear end, which is the earlier 3 Series, which makes the back end very playful, which is why apparently people like them. We do like a playful car. Coming around to the rear, this is where the wide body really comes into its own and does make a difference. Obviously, as you can see here, we've got some aftermarket wheels, but they are staggered and they fill the rear arches so much. Coming around to the back, as I said, we've got the facelift model here, which gives you a much more modern design of the rear lights. Boot space is always a hot topic when it comes to little 2-seater convertibles. Very positive feel on that, very solid feeling as you'd expect from BMW. The boot's not huge, obviously, but for this car size, I'd actually say it's quite decent. We got a few camera bags in here. It goes a bit further back there, so you could definitely get a couple of weekend bags and, yeah, quite literally drive this thing for the weekend. I still find it mad. I'm still within the generation. Like I said, I own an MX5 or 1.8, so a 2.8 straight 6 in something as small as an MX5 is pretty crazy. Factory twin pipes there. I know styling's subjective, but I don't know, probably a lot of people will disagree, but I still think this is a pretty car that has aged so well.
Now, looking at the interior on the classic Z3, they are an option to have a sports seat in these cars with slightly bigger bolsters and everything. This one hasn't got that fitted. Once again, you can option the car up. This doesn't have the heated seats, which you can get, and obviously air conditioning is another option. This does have electric seats though for some strange reason, so that's a bit odd to go do that. I'm not sure if that is a standard thing, but it's only on the slide back and forth anyway.
Right, so we've just, in typical Welsh weather fashion, we've just had to put the roof up, waiting for the rain to die down. The sun's up, but we're not going to keep putting the roof up
It's
now.
a nightmare there. Yeah, so carrying on with the interior, you've got the E36 nice chunky M Sport steering wheel, which we both agree is a really, really nice touch in it, as well as the E36 dials. These do have the little chrome ring around them. I'm not usually a chrome person, but it really does match well with the era of the car. As you pointed out as well, the dashboard itself, the design on it is more of the E30, even though you've got the E36 center console. So it's just, yeah, it's a really, really good mismatch. Same with the window switches, the mirror switches, it's all E36, even the door handles, everything about it is E36. So obviously they've saved money there by using parts of different cars, which just makes sense. But yeah, even though it's very basic, it's still very, very driver focused. And that's what BMW's motto at the time was, the ultimate driving machine. And that's what it was all about.
The engine on this is one of the biggest selling points for me. Like I said, BMW's famous M52 inline six. From the factory, they're around 190 odd horsepower, but it's the torque, it's the low down grunt that gives this the edge above the competition. Again, especially in a car this size. Obviously, that is not factory there, just gives it a bit more of a roar that we'll hear when we're out on the road. Speaking of which, let's just jump in and see what this car is all about. So before we head out on the road, we have got a break in the weather. So, of course, I'm going to put the roof down. So this is what they call a semi-automatic roof. Now, I own an MX5, so it's just clip, clip, unzip, and this is a bit more complicated. So you've got to have the ignition on, foot on the brake. We have got two release clamps just here. Got to give it the initial push just to unlatch it, and then we've got the buttons just down here. Hold. And like that. And now we can hear that masterpiece of an engine. Mad. So straight away I'm getting the feeling of the E36. I owned an E36 for 8 years, so very familiar with this sight. I have just noticed there's even a little tiny mirror in there. I bet Jenna loves that.
That's pointless, isn't it?
Yeah, so like I said, you've got, it does feel very typical E36, which you kind of expect because that's what it's based on, but you've got the stiff throttle that you get in the E36s, the long throw of the clutch, which you're kind of used to, the notch in the gear knob. Like I said, if you've ever driven a 90s, early 2000s Beamer, you'll know exactly what to expect. But again, I'm going to compare it to the MX5 because I've got a lot of experience with them. The difference is I'm barely touching the throttle. So when you're driving in normal, I've got barely gone over 2,000 revs, and the torque of the 6-cylinder, you absolutely just sail on that wave of torque. It's so smooth and surprisingly comfortable, I gotta be fair. Brakes are more responsive than I thought, and I'm only driving in normal. And for some reason, I don't know if it's because you've got to think we're more over the rear wheels than we are the front, but I've just got this urge to just dip the clutch and get the back end to kick out. And Kenny said the back end is so playful on these, and especially on a day like today with this weather, it's going to be very interesting when you're driving it quick. But I wanted to experience what it was like driving it normal. Oh my god, I booted it from 2000 RPM. I understand why people love these engines so much now. So I'm gonna, as much as I want to dip the clutch, I haven't got my big boy pants on today. And we didn't mention, this is actually Kenny's new car. If you're watching us for the first time, Kenny's had some mad cars, but he wanted something a bit fun for the summer, as the rain's coming in.
We'll be alright.
Yeah, the pickup in the middle is beautiful. And that aftermarket air filter just gives it that love, just amplifies that beautiful tone of the M52. Yeah, I can already see, like, the initial response. Like I say, there's a lot of cars you can jump into and just feel straight away. Like, I'm already feeling what this car's about. I really like this one. There are many people that mock these cars, and I don't know if it is because I've come from an MX5, beautifully balanced car, but it does lack the oomph. Everyone will agree that no one's ever accused an MX5 of being fast, but this out of the fact that you could get this out of the factory with this grunt, people just need to drive these things. We always say that.
It's what sold me. As soon as I drove it, reminded me of the old E36, and I just had to buy it. I know you shouldn't buy a car like that, but
but it is mad. It's got, like I said, it is taking me back to my E36, but then you look up, you got the roof down. It's way more of an occasion, and I can't believe how much more, I don't know, how much more, nimble everything feels compared to the E36. Mine felt like big and heavy. Granted, I had big 18s and stuff on there, but I imagine through the corners, even the rev matching, it's everything I remember. You get all the positives of the E36 with some added benefits. So, yeah, I really, really, really like this car now. does sound wicked. So yeah, that's my first impressions from someone who's just jumped in here. Kenny's you've put a fair few miles on this now, haven't you?
Yeah, I put a few hundred. I haven't used it a great deal. It is a weekend toy for me.
Yeah.
But I did have to daily it the other week, which was a bit of an eye-opener because I'm used to a 7 Series. Yeah. So, yeah, one thing I do want to point out, like you said, it is, for what it is, I do think it's quite a comfortable car. Obviously, the seats are quite supportive. As in comfortable wise, they haven't got the biggest bolsters on them.
And they're leather, so it's a bit of a slip and slide.
So you do get a bit of slippy, and I think you can see as the camera's pointing up a bit. These are really, really rough roads, and obviously body flex in a convertible, especially in the mid-90s, is not very, very good. Yeah,
so, when you're driving it hard, it's the same with most, like you said, especially 90s convertibles. You get what they call chassis flex because you haven't got anything here strengthening the car that you would on a coupe. You naturally in the middle, you get like a pivot point almost.
And you can feel it on this. You can actually feel the front end moving compared to the rear. So that is something I have noted. You can get braces, etc. for it, and I definitely will put a strut brace on. It does help a lot, I've heard. So yeah, that's something I've done on my E46, and it did make a difference. So that is definitely something I will be doing. But as you pointed out, drivability-wise, the grunt is there. Pretty much any gear. Like now, I'm on 1600 RPM, third gear. It just picks up, you know.
Surges you. It's not even violent. It's just very. Here's your power, sir. Here's some torque. Just waft along.
It's gentlemanly about it, isn't
it? The MX5 can be a bit of a hooligan. It's a bit of a, I don't know, not a ruffian's choice, but like the more common folk choice. And I can say that because I own one. This to me is the more sophisticated option.
Yeah, it is.
And like you said, James Bond drove one, so one more. He never drove an MX5.
I was going to say, you can't get much more gentlemanly than that. But even this hill, woo, feel a bit of weight transfer then. Yeah. As we lift it, but yeah, it just pulls up nice. Don't get me wrong, it's not the fastest thing in the world. It feels quicker than it probably is because it's just so small and nimble. Yeah, so when you're in the corners, it seems to point and go well. I do think this particular car does need some track rods in and out there just to sharpen the steering up a little bit because they do look like they are 20 plus years old.
And you've got the classic Guibo.
Yes, the Guibo clunk. Once again, it's another part which you think, oh my god, it sounds like the diff's gone and all the rest of it. It cost me £45 for a Febby Bilstein one with new bolts. And obviously, I should, I think, film fitting it because it is a certain way to do it. A lot of people do make the mistake. If you don't put them in the right orientation, you do still get a clunk. So yeah, that's something that we've got to address.
But that takes us nicely onto the running costs, because whenever you mention classic cars, particularly two-seater sporty convertibles like this, I always used to think that, oh my god, like the running costs are going to be terrifying, it's going to be unaffordable. But for example, obviously, well, we can use you as an example because it's your car.
There we go.
So insurance is usually the first one. So how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 32.
Lies. Like 10 years ago?
Yeah, 10 years ago, actually, yeah. I'm 41 now. I got full no claims, no accidents, no convictions, nothing, somehow. But I got a quote for this, initial quote, £152 a year.
A year?
That's insane.
I remember paying that, more than that, a month.
Same.
When I was a lot younger. So that's great, and that's not even on classic insurance. Kenny and I were having the discussion that you probably could put this on a classic insurance.
I think you can now. I literally just put a quote in online and it could just come up £152. I did take a couple of little options on top, like legal protection. I think it worked out at like £186.
Yeah.
But even then, they're still half the price of the tax.
And you could get into one of these for £150 a year.
Yeah.
Tax was going to be my next question. It's a big gas guzzling straight six.
Yeah.
But how much is the tax?
I think it's £395.
In the UK, I mean, that's pretty standard going.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my MX5, it's weird in the UK. It goes on the date of production and things like that. I don't think my MX5 is too far off that, and that's a 1.84 cylinder.
Yeah. So well, my VXR was more than that. My VXR was 460.
Jeez, again, because it's a later one, they go off a mission.
Yeah.
The UK is a joke for tax stuff anyway. Anyway, they can get money out of you.
It is.
But that is another one. And just general maintenance costs.
Yeah.
I know you haven't owned it long, but it's loads of people used to say to me when I had my E36, they are fantastic cars to learn on because the mechanics of them are relatively straightforward.
Yeah, well, sorry, just going on to that, the brakes, for example, they were squealing when I first had it, weren't they? They were binding. I stripped them, cleaned them. It cost me 0 pence.
And yeah, just a bit of time. And
Yep.
again, you think, oh, BMW, big, complicated. They're really not. It's just like
Yeah.
every other brake.
Yeah, it was nice and easy to do, and I believe the discs are cheap enough as well. Parts I've had to replace. I had to replace the MAF sensor. I got a hella one. I think
Yeah.
they're about £100. I did phone BMW, it was over £400, which
That's
is
something I would,
insane.
I know a lot of people will only go OEM, but you can get, OE, but you can get what's called OEM, which is the same brand, but like they haven't got the BMW logo. But there are a lot of brands out there. You can get quality brands without going BMW, and on a car of this age, as long as you've got good quality, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing we replaced. The Vanos
That was interesting.
seals. I, once again, on the video I stated, it's quite scary. I've had a couple of M3s, and as soon as people mention Vanos, it costs a lot of money to repair. This, however, has the M52TU engine, so it's the twin Vanos. The kit cost me £105. I think I had a little bit of discount on it as well because it was an offer on.
Yeah.
It took me, I'd say, 2.5 hours maximum to do. That was replacing the rocker cover and everything as well. And it just, of a car this age, they go hard, the seals. So once again, just replace the £105. The car's got its full potential back, full performance back from those seals, and I've replaced the rocker gasket that was leaking as well.
Yeah.
So,
which is really, I was gonna say, it's common on BMWs. I hate when people say stuff like that. It's rubber. It's going to go brittle on any car.
Exactly.
One issue with this car that I found very unique.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
I am rocking back and forth on the seat, and I thought Kenny hadn't bolted the seat in properly.
Yeah.
Germans being German, you said there's bushes in the seat.
There's a little plastic bush in the seat, either side of the runner. What they do is they wear, obviously being plastic, and they turn into like this oily, horrible, gunky stuff. So they just wear, and then obviously that's gone now, so that's why you're moving so much. Mine, tiny bit of play. The kits you can buy for £10 on eBay. It'll take you a couple of hours to change. I think you can buy, what's the word for it, like a fix and be done kit for 16 quid.
Yeah, so you never got to worry about
Never
it.
worry,
Yeah.
but then again, this has done 108,000 miles. Were you going to have to worry about it again? Really?
Yeah, hopefully not.
So-
Let's face it, he's going to sell it in about 3 days anyway,
Yeah.
so you aren't going to worry about it.
Yeah, but overall, I think the car itself, for the price I paid for it, shall I sell the price? I didn't want to sell it on the price because I might sell it at some point.
But it's a 2.8, which is desirable. The wide body, which is desirable. The silver, although people go, oh, it's a bit boring, it's a very neutral color with the black interior. So when it comes to selling,
Yes.
that is what you want.
And I gotta be honest, the Titan silver as well is nice. It has got a pearl to it. So, but yeah, I was looking online. I was looking, as you know, for the Z4. I didn't really consider the Z3 until I seen the photos of this one, and I was like, do you know what do you think? I sent it to Drew. He said he loved it.
I prefer, personally, we were saying, I imagine the Z4 is a little bit better in every aspect, but for me, I prefer all the cars. This generation of BMW, like I said, subjective, but I think that this is when BMW styling-wise were at their peak.
Yeah, well, this has got a bit more character, I suppose. Obviously, the Z4 will probably ride a bit better, etc.
Yeah.
But smiles, you've got to go for this. And James Bond didn't drive a Z4. So there's another little point. But yeah, I was looking, like I said, there was a couple of wide bodies for sale at the time, around the £4,000 mark. This one is a very, very clean one, as you'll agree. There's a little bit of rust on the sills, as we said, you can replace those. I have actually had a brand new set of BMW sills with this car, and I paid £3,000 for it.
Yeah.
Now, for that money, I've got a convertible, two-seater, 2.8, inline six, rear-wheel drive. This does come with an LSD from factory as well. It's got a Torsen diff. So, what more do you want for that sort of money?
For an MX5, like I said, I've got a mark on MX5. You'd be looking at a pretty ropey one for $3,000, which is crazy. Now, I haven't driven this car fast, but I love the feel of an MX5, and they do feel like very, very different cars.
They do, yeah.
But you've got BMW quality with this compared to Mazda quality.
Yeah.
So for the money, I think these are. I will agree with you and say now seems to be the time to buy what I would consider a classic BMW.
So that's why I've gone out and bought myself a BMW Z3. Let us know in the comments what you guys think.
I know Johnny's going to love it because he's a BMW man. So John, leave a comment. I want to see what you think of this. But also, what if you're not a fan of the Z3, within this budget, what would you guys pick over this? Hey ho, but for now, thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We will see you in the next one.
And don't forget to hype it.
Boom!